anybody who was to the left of mainstream in civil rights was deemed subversive.
They use surveillance in order to foment violence, break apart these organizations.
They were running a surveillance state.
This represents the darkest part of the Bureau's history.
Sam, good afternoon. Jeff in Las Vegas. How are you?
Hey, nice meeting you, Jeff. It's nice that you got behind. I like these images.
Oh, well, thank you very much. You know, I'm such a great admirer of yours. I'm a big documentary film fan, and I took documentary theory in film school here at UNLV. So this is a total thrill. And I enjoyed the documentary very much. You know, I spent my whole life hearing about Martin Luther King and the secret dossier that J. Edgar Hoover had on him, and not only him, but everyone else in America at the time. But I understand that the framework for your documentary was based on David Garrow's book.
It was. We had read, both myself and the producer of the film, Benedine, had read Garrow's book, and he read it first. Ben read it first. He said, "I think this should be our next film." We had just finished the film called Two Trains Running, and then I read it, and I completely concurred with him. I said, "You're absolutely right. This should be our next film." And go ahead.
I would say, why do you think the FBI was so interested in Martin Luther King? I mean, for the obvious reasons, but did you find anything interesting during your research that was kind of shed the light on some new information?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I had edited a film back in 1983 about Langston Hughes, the poet. And one of the things in that film that we had documented was the fact that Langston Hughes was brought before the House of Un-American Activities Committee because his association with members of the Communist Party. And one of the pieces of footage that we used in that documentary was J. Edgar Hoover at one of those meetings talking about his obsession with, you know, communism and how it was going to destroy America. And so one of the things that was fascinating about me was about working on this film was to really sort of dig into J. Edgar Hoover's obsession with the Communist Party. And when he learned that MLK had a relationship with a former communist, Stanley Levinson, that was sort of like meat on the bone, which gave him the opportunity to say, "We need to surveil this man." And so he got the permission, the authorization from Bobby Kennedy, the Attorney General, to do just that. You know, and that was his hope, that he was going to make sure there was a connection between Stanley Levinson and Dr. King and the Communist Party, and in the hopes of discrediting Dr. King.
And yes, go ahead.
Yeah, but I was going to say, but in wiretapping and then bugging Dr. King, they found out about his illicit affairs, which also all of a sudden for J. Edgar Hoover made the stakes rise even higher. And now he felt like this would be the thing that would destroy King's reputation.
With the Freedom of Information Act you used, declassified documents, you know, how much material was available? Was it overwhelming for you to try to figure out not only reading through or getting through everything, but what to put in the documentary?
It was a little overwhelming because there's a lot of material that's been released. And so we had to go through it. I mean, the other thing that's always interesting, though, a lot of that stuff is all kind of redacted, you know, so you got to sort of kind of intuit what some of the things what's some of the things that are being said. But you know, Ben, the producer, was very, very, you know, tenacious in wanting to try to find the right stuff that we thought we could use for the film. And I think we did.
So take me through the process of asking for documents from the U.S. Archives. Well, is it an easy process or is it complicated?
It's not that complicated. I mean, you know, more and more, all of us are always reaching out to the Freedom of Information Act to get material on people, you know, and you know, it's I think the biggest challenge always is when they do send you these documents is the redactions. And then you got to sort of filter out what you think you can make sense of. But it wasn't difficult.
And anything more exciting for a documentary filmmaker than discovering documents and footage about your subject that you're featuring? I mean, it's like going on a treasure trove, I'm sure.
Well, I'd look at it as being like an archaeologist. Like you're digging and digging and
You're
digging.
Indiana Jones, yeah.
Exactly. And you find some phenomenal stuff. And you say, "Wow, look what I found, the golden hoard," you know.
Tell me about one of those moments, Sam. You had to have many, but what was one that really stuck out for you?
One big moment was the footage of Dr. King with his family when they were young children, Coretta Scott King and Dr. King's parents. I had never seen that footage before. So when Brian, our producer, found that material, I was like, wow. Another great moment is when he found that footage of James Earl Ray being in the custody of Scotland Yard. No one had seen that material. No one. That was another one of those wow moments.
Yeah, it's incredible. The footage with his family, I remember distinctly. And your documentary humanized Martin Luther King. That's what I really appreciate about it, because he's so much more than "I have a dream" speech. And it showed his life wasn't easy. He was getting it from every side constantly. Everybody was coming at him. So I came out with a whole new attitude about him, seeing him as a human being and humanizing him.
That was the objective. That's exactly what the objective was, to make him as human as possible. And that's what I think one of the responsibilities when you do these kind of films about these, what I call iconic figures, you want to show them as human beings. You don't have to do the same sort of approach where you say they're so deified that they can't be touched. He was a richly complicated man who had a very richly complicated life.
Well, you did him justice, a fabulous documentary. Sam, thank you so much for joining me today. And when things get better, come visit us in Las Vegas. We'd love to have you.
I will. I was in Vegas 2 years ago to see Carlos Santana.
Nice.
Take
We have to
care.
talk again about Sammy Davis Jr. because I'm a Las Vegas native. I saw him with Jerry Lewis at the Congo Room back in the
wow.
80s. Oh,
Wow.
he's probably one of the greatest entertainers of all time. I just love Sammy. So
He was.
yes.
Was.
We'll
Thanks.
talk again soon though, Sam.
Be good. Bye.
Take care.